I'm Cameron McCormick. Time to build on those essential elements of greenside play. Time to expand beyond that core concept. Think of these grooves like their teeth. They grab the cover, they drag the ball down, and they create spin. I'm going to teach you to master the high shot, the medium shot, the low shot, so you can get at any flag you find yourself needing to get at from around the green. But now, let's potentially say we have to hit higher and harder. Okay, so this second one, we're going to hinge in the backswing, and as we hinge in the backswing, I'm actually trying to turn the club face even more to the sky. Coming at you right now, SkillCode, 3-shot, greenside mastery. Welcome to the SkillCode. I'm Matt Adams. You know, throughout the course of history, there have been those that could take that which was common to others in their craft and from it create masterpieces, something that has never existed before. I'm here with Cameron McCormick. You know him as the 2015 PGA Teacher of the Year, and of course, the coach to Jordan Spieth. To this idea of mastery, how can we apply it to shots around the green? You know, as I look back and think about the best short game players of all time, I think about the way they were able to take one tool, like it's the only paintbrush they had, and take the 3 primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, and paint a kaleidoscope of amazing color. And the best short game players of all time, one of which I have close proximity to watch almost every day at practice, does exactly that. He can take the most lofted club in his bag and he can turn it into a low chasing runner, a low launching runner. He can turn it into a low launching spinner. He can hit high, majestic short game shots that don't travel very far, but they're way up in the air. And I think at some point what we have to do is we have to break the bounds of just commonality and start to expand our toolbox to be able to hit these types of shots. And so if in painters' parlance, those primary colors of red, yellow, and blue are then transposed back into golf, we can think of an ability to create different trajectories and different spins in the order of what the ball sees in dynamic loft, how we apply that force to the back of the ball, that I'm going to give you a great example of here in just a second, and also the friction that we apply to the ball. So let's start with that third element, shall I? I think it's very important that we understand the importance of really clean, fresh grooves. So the best players in the world don't go much more than 2 or 3 weeks before they freshen up that lob wedge, gap wedge, and even sand wedge right there. For me, I've got a fresh wedge here, but I notice that there's some material in the grooves that would then cause less of a grabbing ability. Think of these grooves like their teeth. They grab the cover, they drag the ball down, and they create spin, okay? That second element that I talked about, kind of backing back out of these skill codes, was how force is applied to either the cover or through the core of the ball. And this is represented by demonstrating with a racket, and this foam ball has 2 colors on it. And if I hit the ball in a very upward direction with the force of the racket, the ball won't spin, will it? It'll just kind of go up and down, and the wind's kind of spinning it a little bit, but that's energy directed straight up through the core of the ball right there. Conversely, if I take the force, the speed of the racket, and take the angle like it is the golf club face, and apply it to the cover of the ball, what I'll start to create is I'll start to create rotation. So when you apply friction, which is the grooves, or in this case the strings of the racket, against the cover of the ball, then we start to create this neat little spin, kind of like that. Let me see if I can align the colors correctly here. There we go. Okay, so that's the objective. My objective today is to teach you to use these 3 primary colors of dynamic loft, of friction, and also force applied to create the perfect spin control, the perfect trajectory control for this short game artistry. So let's put it into context, shall we? I've got 2 flags in front of me. One shot requires that I stuff the ball pretty quickly, okay? I don't want the ball running too much past that flag, but I've got to take a lob wedge here, and I could loft that up in the air in a lob style of shot, but that's actually relatively difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ball back in my stance. I'm going to de-loft, the static loft of the club. I'm going to try and return to impact with very little loft in the club. And in order for me to stop the ball really quickly, I'm going to have to create a lot of spin. Okay, so the way I do that is I create a little bit of what we'll call a cut blow, where the swing direction is actually shifted left of the target line. So what I've got is I've got that ball back, I've got my pressure left, I'm reducing the dynamic loft of this lob wedge by leaning the handle forward.
at least the static loft, I'm going to create this little cut swing direction by adjusting my stance and also adjusting the direction that the club's traveling through impact. Let me give it a shot here. If I do this correctly, I should get a ball that lands just short of the fringe, maybe on the fringe or edge of the green, and stops pretty quickly. Let's give it a shot. And to create some ground contact here is actually very appropriate. So I've got that type of blow that I'm working with. Okay, that's the exact reaction I was looking for. I needed to land a little bit further, but that ball came off at really low trajectory and had a lot of spin on it. Can you read out the spin RPM on that shot there, Matt?
Yeah, your spin rate was 2,946, Kim.
That's quite a lot of spin to create on a little, maybe 5-yard carry shot. Okay, so now what if we had to take this one paintbrush, this most lofted club that's in my bag, and give the ball some more incentive to release out to that second flag that's some 25 yards away from me and probably 20 yards, 15 yards that's on the green. All of a sudden, we're going to have to create the dynamic loft situation we're looking for the low trajectory, but we don't want to cut down across the ball and create a high friction blow, and we certainly don't want that energy working against the cover. We want it kind of working more into the core. So what I do is I adjust my stance from open, I then turn it back to square, maybe even just a touch close to the right of the target line, depending on how much release I'm looking for. And this one will be more of like rather than a bump spinner, a bump runner. The direction of the swing is no longer down and across, but it's a little bit more neutral, or perhaps even a little bit swinging out to the right of the target. I'm expecting the ball to land maybe 2 yards, 1 yard on, and then release back to that second flag there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. The depth of the shot was fantastic. It just took a little slope and went off to the right. So all of a sudden, I've used one tool and I've created two different skills out of it. The bump spinner, where I open up the stance and kind of cut across it using friction and force across the cover. And then I've turned the stance and I've reduced the friction. I've used force more through the core of the ball just by shallowing out that blow and creating that closed space relationship. So I think that represents really well the use of those primary colors that we think of as maybe an artist in the context of golf.
These brushes that Cam has been showing us can affect very different shots. The question now is, what about the trajectory of your brush and the artistry that you need therein? We'll talk about it when we come back.
Frankly, I think recreational amateurs use way too much loft around the greens. That could be one of two blended problems. They're using too much loft in the club, or they're trying to create too much loft in their technique from a ball that's too far forward and too much wrist action. The problems that creates are problems in contact. The problems that creates are problems in force control because of poor contact. So we create an all-encompassing solution when we use just a little bit less loft, maybe a sand wedge or a gap wedge. And when we use a very simple technique, it's a technique that allows for body rotation, arm extension, and not a bunch of hand action or wrist action in the stroke, but then it almost guarantees that those recreational players will make much better contact almost all the time.
Welcome back to the SkillCode. You know, to be a master of the shots that you need around the greens, it's about controlling trajectory to hit the shot that you need to hit it at the exact time that you need to do so to get this ball in that hole. Cameron, you spoke about the club in your hand in the last segment as being a brush. Now we're going to learn how to control it.
Yeah, we're going to turn the paintbrush into a brush and paint with 3 colors to create more of a mid-trajectory shot. So rather than that dynamic loft looking immensely down at impact, what we're going to do is we're going to start with neutralizing that loft by just slightly adjusting our setup. So we're going to widen our stance, because that narrow stance would cause the club to be traveling down. The angle of attack would be downward. Now we're going to widen our stance a little bit, place the ball more in the middle, and now we're going to create a shot where, because of the adjustment, the handle more back to the middle of my body, when we return back to impact, that loft's going to be looking up more to the sky. Why? Because what I've turned this shot into a situation of, now I have to carry it beyond that stick, so I don't have the room to bounce or run it back to that middle flag. I've got to stop it relatively quick, okay? So, again, what are those setup variables that we're going to adjust? We're going to go from our low trajectory, whether it was a low trajectory little bump runner or a bump spinner, and we're going to widen that stance back out, and you can see that ball position adjustment. Okay, neutral loft, neutral handle position. I'm going to create a little bit more hinge on the backswing, not much. I'm going to create a little bit more hinge on the follow through. So the contrast in techniques, the first shots were pretty much a wide swing, okay, very little wrist leverage, maybe a little bit of a transitional downcock, but then this next shot's going to create a little bit of hinge and a little bit of club movement underneath the handle. If I do this successfully, I should get a little bit more launch trajectory, higher up in the air, landing a little bit further, and coming to a pretty quick stop. Let's see how we do. Ooh. And there she is. So you can see a little bit of a ground interaction right there. That's still the club traveling down. As I let the club head move underneath the handle, the bottom of the club starts to interact with the turf, but it's really not a dig and it's really not a bounce up into it. It's really more of a slide underneath the ball. So in order to get good at this slide, I love just sitting here in the same spot and just working my club back and forth, and I'm looking at a very specific spot in the ground. I'm using the technique, the style of the swing that would enable that club to slide underneath the ball. You can see me kind of letting the club stand up a little bit. And importantly, I've got the loft of the club looking back down at the end of the stroke, and that creates that movement under the ball that would then push that ball or project that ball up into the air with that grab that we're looking for.
Is this a widely applicable shot too?
Yeah, so in terms of the applicability of this type of skill, it becomes absolutely essential when we don't have very much room to run the ball or bump the ball. We've got to create trajectory and stopping power very quick, and we've got to be able to turn this tool into a tool that will cause the ball to travel at a mid-trajectory and stop pretty darn quick close to that hole.
Throughout the course of this series, he has taught you a lot of really cool shots, although coming up, if there is one shot that almost every golfer would love to have here around the green, we're going to show you what that is when we come back.
The assessment is, when I put the club down, there's a big cushion of grass, a nice little pillow. Club's going to slide underneath the ball. I'm going to go wide in my stance. And you're going to see a lot of ball release from the club underneath past the handle. It's going to stand up in front of my body. There's a well-lofted club, spins a lot, right by the hole. Welcome back to the Skill Code. Now, as we were going to the last break, I was talking about that one shot that around the green everybody would love to have, and it's that high lofted shot. Cameron McCormick, take us through the fundamentals of how we can hit that shot that everybody would love to do, but few are able to pull off.
Indeed, going right way back to those three primary colors, the skill code elements of creating dynamic loft. You can see from the magnet on the club faces, if this was the setup for the mid-trajectory shot, in order to create the high shot that's going to land just past that white stick that's on the green, I've got about 10 foot of room to stop it between the flag that I'm going for. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to create a nice vertical launch and hopefully a bit of friction across the cover of the ball to create the stopping power. So the address adjustments I'm going to make, I'm going to go widen my stance even more. I'm going to treat this almost like a bunker shot where I put some pressure and sustained pressure during the swing over on the left side of my body right here. Okay, so how is that club then going to slide underneath the ball? What I'm going to do is there's a couple ways to do this. I'll show you both, in fact. There's what's called a dead hand flop, where I've created the lofted address. I'm going to go wide in the backswing and then create hinge in the follow-through, and that hinge in the follow-through slides the club underneath the ball, okay? As I widen my stance, what I do is I create a really nice shallow arc at the bottom that I'm just trying to use that enables me to slide the club underneath the ball. So let me demonstrate this first iteration of this shot. Okay, so we'll hit this one the dead hand flop. Why dead hand? Because I'm not going to use much wrist hinge in the backswing. There'll be a little bit there, but I'm going to use a lot in the follow-through right here. And hopefully that club's going to stand up and touch my collarbone at the end there. This one requires a really assertive attitude right here that I can be confident with. Let's give it a shot. There she is. Nice. And it came backwards right at the hole. Can you read out what that one was spinning right there?
I can't. Spin rate, 6,105.
Wow. And what carry distance was that? About 25 yards?
22 and a half.
22 and a half yards, almost 7,000 RPM. That can only happen if I'm working with clean grooves on a new wedge. To ensure that the wedge is new, the grooves are clean, and then work on this technique, which was that dead hand flop. Stance, wider, pressure left, loft way up to the sky, and then we're going to go no hinge, and then lots of hinge on the follow through. So what is that second iteration? That's the super flop. Again, we're looking to create the same loft at address, but now let's potentially say we have to hit higher and harder, okay? So this second one, we're going to hinge in the backswing, and as we hinge in the backswing, I'm actually trying to turn the club face even more to the sky. So the regular flop, that dead hand flop, would have been kind of like this, but this one I'm actually creating both hinge in this direction and twist of the club face open, almost like I'm trying to turn the magnet to my right shoulder, and then I'm going to rip under it really, really fast and try and create that same follow through. Okay, why would we use this one? We would use this one when it was absolutely essential that the ball's going to carry over, maybe it's a bunker, or we needed more speed to ensure that the ball's going to get out to the intended target. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay, traveling over that stick super high this time. Okay, I got my address down, and I create loft and hinge and loft and hinge. There it is. Perfect. Okay, so that one was stopping with a little bit more of a soft trajectory than it was ripping back like the previous one. And I can see kind of a crease mark or a nice little skid mark right up the club. And that's evidence, going back to the original concept we created, of this tennis racket effect of that club really creating that spinning, cutting blow. That movement right there would cause that ball to not only go up, but also rip back right there at the end. That's about it. That's a really hard shot to hit, so I'm really pleased at pulling those off.
We want you guys to be pleased because we're not done yet. It's not it here. We have one more segment to go, and when we come back, we're going to tie all of this together, and Cameron is going to show you some practice drills on the green that aren't only fun, but you too can hit shots just like this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Skill Code. This is my favorite part of the show. This is after we've learned everything that Cameron wanted us to know to build up to a point that now we can put it into operation for all of you to benefit your game. And you have a pretty unique looking challenge set up for us today.
Yeah, indeed. So my work with the best players in the world tells me that they need the versatility in this particular club. They need to be able to hit a wide array of shots. So if we're thinking about a toolbox, that toolbox needs to be filled with a wide array of tools. So what I've set up here is I've set up a row of cones. Each cone is 3 yards further onto the green than the previous one. My objective is to turn this club into a tool that would create a shot that would cause the ball to land in the specific wall zone, the area between 2 cones that I'm intending, but yet still cause the ball to get all the way up to the back flag up on top of that tier right there. And the standard of success that I'd be working with, I'd be expecting to get it inside of 6 feet, because I know if the ball's inside of 6 feet, there's a good chance that I can make the putt. For many of you at home, it might be a good shot if it's inside 10 or if it's inside 15. You might want to expand the area that you allow yourself to land the ball. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the exercise right here, or the challenge, and you need to treat it like that to gamify your practice, your time trying to develop your skills. I'm going to walk you through how I adapt those 3 primary colors, those 3 underlying principles to cause my ball to behave, to give me good success. So this first one, I've got to land it between the cone that's right at the edge of the green, and then the second one that's on the green 3 yards away. And my ball needs to be going at a very low trajectory with incentive to run. So I wouldn't go back in the stance bump cut that would create spin. I need to turn this club into a running club. So I'm going to twist the club closed. I'm going to close my stance on down. The ball's way in the back. And I've got a lot of low trajectory and run ingredient that I'm going to use for success on this shot right now. So I landed in the zone, and this is where I've got to be really good at reading the feedback. But yet the ball took off and rolled too far to the left. But I think given one more attempt, I can adjust where I'm aligning and then play the break a little bit better. So I want the same trajectory, the same run, but yet I want it to hold a little bit straighter. Okay, landed in the zone, riding up that slope, and it's probably, what do you think, Maddie, 7 feet away?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, we're going to call that successful. When you're successful, landing in your zone, getting it within your predetermined kind of range around the hole, then you get to graduate to that next zone in this game, this challenge called scales.
Is this a practice that you use with Jordan? Has this helped hone in his short game?
I do this with all of my players, recreational or otherwise, all the way to one of the best female players in the world and all the way to one of the best male players in the world. So what's required on this next zone? If I'm going to hit that next zone, I need still some roll, still some low trajectory, but I need to dial back on a little bit of the run ingredient. So the way I do that, I wouldn't close down quite as much. I'd play more of like a square face, back of the stance bumper. Here we go. Okay, hit it in the zone. It's rolling up there really nice to about, what do you think that is, 5.5, 6 feet?
Yeah, just about there. It's
Cool,
inside.
we'll call that successful. Okay, now I'm graduating to that third zone. I think everyone gets the idea right here. I'm going to go back in my stance and create a punch spinner. Comes in low, takes a couple of hops and stops right by the flag. Okay, I had a lot of spin on it. Finished probably 7 feet short of the flag. All right, I get to advance.
Well done.
All the while I'm thinking about what trajectory, what spin's going to get me close to the hole. Okay, I got 2 cones to go. I think I can knock them out in 2 shots. Now I require a little bit of trajectory. I'm going to widen the stance back out, loft the club face, but still take it in relatively low. That's really good. Just a little left. Stay out there.
Nice shot.
Okay, it's about 9 feet short, 8 feet short. Okay, last zone now. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to create a lot of loft. I'm going to widen that stance back out. I'm going to hit the dead hand, hinged finish.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, I had a little bit too much spin on it, didn't it? But it's about 8 feet short
Yeah,
of the
that's
hole.
about
So
8 feet or so.
really challenging exercise. You can change the challenge point by widening your zones out and recognize you just want to get through it. You want to realize where are your stack points and pay attention to those and spend time practicing those critical skills.
The reason why I think this segment is so much fun in each show is because this is something that you can do with your friends. You can practice out here and make a game out of it. Very well done. Fascinating content that we covered this show. Thank you to Lake Nona Golf and Country Club once again for hosting us. Cameron, thank you for that program, and to all of you for watching.